often hear about the book of the end of the world, but today for my 50M family, I'm showing it to you because the figure appeared to be made of bright, divine light.
Something deeply unsettling has just unfolded at the Kaaba in Mecca. An event so rare, so sudden, that witnesses are calling it a warning from above. Pilgrims who came in peace found themselves frozen in fear as the ground shifted, the skies darkened, and ancient structures trembled. Videos are spreading rapidly, showing people crying, praying, and asking the same question: is this just a natural disaster or something far greater? Across the world, millions are now watching, waiting, and praying. Stay with this report until the end, because what you're about to see may change how you understand these events. Like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe now. Without warning, the ground at the Kaaba in Mecca began to shift. At first, it was subtle, just a slight tremor beneath the feet of thousands of pilgrims gathered in prayer. But within seconds, that quiet movement turned into something far more alarming. A section of the ground suddenly gave way, forming what witnesses described as a sinkhole opening in a place where nothing like this should ever happen. People froze. Some stepped back instinctively. Others stood completely still, unable to process what they were seeing. Imagine being there for a moment, standing in one of the most sacred places on earth, surrounded by prayer, and then the ground beneath you starts to collapse. What would you think? What would you feel? Eyewitnesses reported a wave of shock spreading through the crowd. The atmosphere changed instantly. What was once calm and reverent became tense and uncertain. You can hear it in the videos. Voices trembling, prayers growing louder, urgency rising with every second. And here's the question that many are now asking: why did this happen here? And why now? From a scientific perspective, sinkholes can occur due to underground erosion or weakened soil structures. But even with that explanation, the timing and location have left many deeply unsettled. This is not just any place. This is the center of faith for millions. Some witnesses began to cry. Others raised their hands in prayer, calling out in fear and hope at the same time. The emotional intensity was undeniable. It wasn't just about the physical event, it was about what it might mean. Could this be a natural incident or something more? The Bible reminds us in Luke 21:11, there will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and pestilences. And there will be terrors and great signs from heaven. Are we simply witnessing isolated events? Or are these moments part of a larger pattern unfolding right before our eyes? As the ground settled and people slowly regained their footing, one thing became clear. This was not something easily forgotten. The image of that sudden collapse in such a sacred place has already begun to spread across the world. And this is only the beginning. And as the ground shook, the sky did not stay silent. Shortly after the incident, the atmosphere above Mecca began to change rapidly. Dark clouds gathered faster than expected, and within moments heavy rain started pouring down. Not the usual rainfall, but something far more intense and sudden. Witnesses described it as overwhelming, almost as if the weather itself had shifted without warning. Then came the floods. Water rushed through pathways and open areas where pilgrims had just been standing. In places that are typically dry, streams of water began to form, moving quickly and unpredictably. People were seen trying to move to higher ground, holding on to each other, navigating through rising water while still processing what had just happened beneath their feet. Think about this for a moment. First, the ground gives way, and then the sky opens up. Is that just coincidence? Meteorologists can point to changing weather patterns, seasonal instability, or atmospheric pressure shifts. These explanations exist, but even with that, many are questioning the timing. The sequence of events feels too precise, too closely connected to ignore. Eyewitness footage shows soaked pilgrims continuing to pray despite the chaos. Some stood still in the rain, hands raised, as if seeking protection in the middle of uncertainty. Others looked around in confusion, trying to understand whether this was simply a storm or something far more significant. The intensity of the rain added another layer of fear to an already shocking situation. Visibility dropped, movement became difficult, and the sense of control disappeared almost instantly. And once again, the same question echoes: why is everything happening at once? For those who were there, it wasn't just about weather anymore. It felt like a moment where multiple forces, earth and sky, were colliding in a way they had never experienced before. And what happens next may be even more difficult to explain. Stay with this, because the following moments raise even more serious questions. Amid the chaos, another disturbing development began to unfold. Witnesses reported that sections of ancient stone from nearby historic structures suddenly broke loose and fell. These were not small fragments. Some pieces were large enough to cause immediate concern, striking the ground with force and sending people scrambling to avoid danger. For a place known for its stability and preservation over centuries, this was unexpected. These structures have stood through time, through countless gatherings, through years of environmental change, and yet, in this exact moment, they begin to give way. It raises a serious question. What kind of pressure, visible or unseen, could cause something so solid to suddenly weaken? Eyewitness videos show debris scattered across the ground, while people move quickly, trying to create distance from the falling stones. And the tension in the air was no longer just emotional. It had become physical, immediate, and dangerous. Some described hearing cracking sounds just before the stones fell. Others said it happened so quickly they barely had time to react. Either way, the result was the same. Fear intensified and uncertainty grew. From a structural standpoint, aging materials, moisture infiltration, and stress fractures can contribute to this kind of failure. But once again, the timing stands out. Coming right after the ground instability and sudden flooding, it creates a sequence that feels too tightly connected to ignore. You have to ask yourself, how often do ground collapse, extreme weather, and structural failure happen back to back in the same place within such a short time? For many witnesses, this wasn't just a series of unrelated incidents. It felt like everything was unfolding together, layer by layer, each moment building on the last. And as the stones hit the ground, one realization became unavoidable. Something was not normal about this day. And as the stones hit the ground, the crowd could no longer remain calm. What followed was not just fear. It was an emotional wave that moved through thousands of people at once. Pilgrims who had come for peace suddenly found themselves overwhelmed, their faces filled with shock, confusion, and something deeper. A sense that this moment carried weight beyond explanation. Some stood frozen, staring at the ground where the collapse had happened. Others immediately dropped to their knees. You can hear it clearly in the recordings. Voices breaking, prayers rising louder, people calling out with urgency. You're surrounded by thousands, and within minutes the ground shifts, the sky opens, stones fall. What would you do? Would you run? Or would you pray? Many chose to pray. Hands were raised, tears streamed down faces. Entire groups gathered tightly together, reciting prayers in unison. The atmosphere transformed into something intense and deeply personal. It was no longer just a crowd. It became a moment of collective fear and faith. Eyewitnesses described people crying uncontrollably, some unable to even speak. Others looked upward, searching for answers, as if expecting something more to happen at any second. The emotional tension was undeniable. You could feel it in every frame of the footage. And here's what stands out the most. Even in fear, many did not run away. Instead, they stayed. They prayed harder. They held on to belief in the middle of uncertainty. That tells you something about how powerful this moment felt to those who experienced it. Social media quickly filled with clips from different angles. People huddled together, voices echoing through the rain, expressions of shock frozen on their faces. Around the world, viewers began reacting in real time. Comments poured in, many asking the same question: is this just a disaster, or is it something more? The emotional impact spread far beyond Mecca. Families watching from other countries called loved ones, checking if they were safe. Others began praying from afar, feeling connected to what was happening in that moment. And now, as you're watching this, you're part of that same global reaction. So let me ask you directly, what do you think this means? Is this simply a chain of events, or is there a deeper message behind it? Take a second right now. Comment your thoughts below. Let others know what you believe. And if you want to keep following these unfolding events and uncover what comes next, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. As the shock began to settle, attention shifted to something quieter, but no less disturbing. Not far from the central area, witnesses began pointing out an ancient tree that appeared to be rapidly withering. This was not a gradual change. People described leaves turning dull, branches drooping, and signs of decay appearing in a very short span of time. For a tree that had stood for years, possibly generations, this kind of sudden decline raised immediate concern. Trees don't just wither overnight without cause. There are usually signs, stages, warnings. But here, the change felt abrupt, almost synchronized with everything else that had just happened. Some observers saw it as symbolic. A living thing, deeply rooted, suddenly losing strength in the middle of a moment already filled with fear and uncertainty. It added another layer to the question everyone was already asking. Why are all these signs appearing at the same time? And then, reports began to circulate about something even more unusual. According to several sources, a recent excavation uncovered an ancient text, a manuscript believed to describe events tied to a sacred location, including warnings of upheaval, instability, and moments of global attention focused on a single place. While the origins of the text are still being debated, the timing of its discovery has captured attention, because now people are connecting the dots. A sudden ground collapse, unusual weather, falling structures, emotional scenes of mass prayer, and now a dying tree and a text that seems to describe something similar. Some believe these events are unfolding exactly as written long ago. Others remain skeptical, pointing to natural causes and misinterpretations. But even skeptics are acknowledging one thing. This sequence is highly unusual. The Bible contains a line that many are now reflecting on, Hosea 9:16. Ephraim is stricken, their root is dried up, they shall bear no fruit. For those who view current events through a spiritual lens, the image of a drying root carries deep meaning. It suggests not just physical decline, but something broader, something affecting what lies beneath the surface. And that idea is what makes this moment so difficult to ignore. Because it's not just about what people can see. It's about what might be happening underneath, unseen, unnoticed, but already in motion. As more details continue to emerge, one thing becomes increasingly clear. This story is not over. Beyond the events unfolding in Mecca, the wider world is already under pressure. And that context changes how everything is being interpreted. At the same time these incidents are taking place, geopolitical tensions are intensifying across multiple regions. The situation involving Israel, Iran, and the United States has been escalating, with increasing military activity, strategic warnings, and growing uncertainty about what could happen next. What once seemed contained now appears to be drawing in additional nations, expanding the scale of potential conflict. And this is where the concern deepens, because reports indicate that areas near sacred and historically significant locations have also been affected by rising tensions. Any instability in such regions carries not only political consequences, but emotional and spiritual weight for millions of people around the world. Think about the timing again. While one of the most sacred sites is experiencing unusual physical events, global powers are simultaneously moving closer to confrontation. These are not isolated developments. They are unfolding side by side, influencing how people perceive what is happening. Energy markets have already begun reacting. Even the possibility of conflict in key regions can disrupt oil supply routes, increase prices, and affect economies far beyond the Middle East. What starts as a regional issue can quickly become global. And history has shown this pattern before. Tensions rise, alliances shift. One event leads to another, often faster than expected. The difference now is how connected everything is. Information spreads instantly, reactions happen in real time, and fear can move just as quickly as facts. For many observers, the combination of geopolitical instability and unusual physical events creates a sense that the world is entering a more uncertain phase. Not necessarily a single crisis, but multiple pressures building at once. Some analysts focus purely on strategy, military positioning, and economic risk. Others are looking at the broader picture, asking whether these parallel developments signal something larger. Because when global tension rises, even small triggers can have massive consequences. And right now, the world is watching multiple fronts at once. From conflict zones to sacred locations, from political decisions to unexpected natural events, everything feels connected in a way that is difficult to ignore. The question is no longer just what is happening in one place. It's how all of this might come together next. And then, something appeared in the sky. As people continued praying, standing in shock after everything that had just happened, several witnesses began pointing upward. Phones were raised. Voices shifted from fear to disbelief. In the middle of that moment, rain still falling, tension still high, an unusual shape became visible above the Kaaba. Some described it as a figure. Others said it looked like light forming a silhouette, arms extended outward, almost as if embracing the crowd below. The timing is what made it even more intense. This was not seen hours later. It appeared while people were already in a state of fear, already praying, already searching for meaning. Think about that. After the ground collapses, after the storm, after the falling stones, after the emotional outcry, then something appears in the sky. For many witnesses, this was not just a visual phenomenon, it felt personal. Some immediately interpreted it as a divine sign, a moment of reassurance or warning. Others remained cautious, suggesting it could be light distortion, reflections, or atmospheric effects intensified by the storm. But even those explanations do not fully settle the reaction, because what people felt in that moment cannot be measured scientifically. The videos continue to spread. Some angles show brighter formations, others more subtle shapes. And yet, across different clips, the same idea keeps returning. Something was there, and it appeared at a very specific time. So now, everything comes down to this. Are these events connected? A sudden sinkhole at a sacred site. Unusual weather striking immediately after. Ancient structures falling. Crowds overwhelmed with fear and prayer. a dying tree, an ancient text describing similar warnings, global tensions rising, and finally, something seen in the sky. Individually, each event might be explained, but together, that's where the question becomes harder to ignore. Are we looking at coincidence or convergence? This is where you come in. What do you believe is happening here? Is this simply a chain of natural and human events? Or is there a deeper message unfolding that people are only beginning to recognize? Take a moment and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective matters, and others are reading what you think. If you want to continue following these developments and explore more events like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and stay aware.
Friends, pause for a moment and think. If I tell you
From Saudi Arabia has witnessed this snowfall which has never been seen before.
Or good. The motion showed control, not drift. There was no sound and no...
Across one of the most sacred places on Earth, a series of unusual events has recently begun drawing global attention. A powerful sandstorm suddenly darkened the sky over Mecca, while millions of pilgrims were gathered. Strange lights were seen moving across the night sky, and a mysterious circular cloud appeared above the Grand Mosque. Some reports even described rare snowfall in a region known for extreme desert heat. Behind the walls of the Kaaba, ancient discoveries continue to raise new questions. Some believe these events are natural. Others wonder whether they could be connected to ancient prophecies about signs appearing before the return of the Son of Man. Before we explore these moments, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. A moment that made the world pause and look again. While millions of pilgrims were gathered in Mecca to perform one of the most sacred rituals in Islam, the sky above the holy city suddenly began to change in a way that few expected. What had been a bright desert afternoon slowly shifted into something far more dramatic as the horizon darkened and an enormous wall of dust began advancing toward the city. At first it appeared distant, almost like a faint haze rising from the desert floor, but within minutes the phenomenon intensified, transforming the skyline into a swirling mass of sand and shadow. Videos quickly captured the moment the storm reached the city. The air over the Grand Mosque turned a strange yellow-brown, as if the sunlight itself had been filtered through a giant veil of dust. Massive clouds of sand rolled through the streets, pushed by powerful winds that seemed to arrive without warning. The iconic white marble of the courtyard surrounding the Kaaba began disappearing beneath layers of blowing dust, while the once clear sky became thick and turbulent. As the storm strengthened, visibility across the entire area dropped dramatically. Sunlight, which only moments earlier had illuminated the sacred complex, was almost completely swallowed by the dense clouds spreading across the city. The atmosphere shifted from bright desert daylight to an eerie, dim glow that made the entire scene look almost unreal. Cameras pointed toward the sky showed towering waves of dust moving like a living force above the Grand Mosque. What made the moment even more extraordinary was the timing. This powerful sandstorm did not occur during an empty afternoon or a quiet period in the city. It happened while one of the largest religious gatherings on earth was taking place, with millions of pilgrims already filling the sacred grounds. As the storm swept across Mecca, crowds of worshippers could be seen continuing their rituals, walking in circles around the Kaaba as powerful gusts of wind carried sand through the air. Despite the harsh conditions, many pilgrims remained focused on their prayers. Some covered their faces while continuing tawaf, while others stood firmly in place, refusing to abandon the moment of worship they had traveled across the world to experience. Around them, the storm raged with unsettling intensity, turning the sky into a churning ocean of dust and wind. Because of the sheer scale of the gathering and the dramatic nature of the event, footage of the storm spread rapidly across the internet. Within hours, millions of people around the world were watching the same astonishing images. The sacred city of Mecca, partially engulfed by a massive sandstorm, while countless pilgrims continued their devotion beneath the darkened sky. For many observers, the scene looked less like an ordinary weather event and more like something out of a powerful and unforgettable moment in history, a sudden and overwhelming display of nature unfolding in one of the most spiritually significant places on earth. The night sky above Mecca suddenly refused to remain ordinary. During what appeared to be a quiet evening over the holy city, a brilliant light unexpectedly ignited high above the skyline. At first, it looked like a distant spark cutting through the darkness, barely noticeable against the vast expanse of night. Yet within seconds, the glow intensified, stretching across the sky and capturing the attention of countless people who happened to look upward at that exact moment. Several videos began circulating online, almost immediately, showing the strange object moving slowly above the city. The light did not behave like an ordinary aircraft crossing the horizon. Instead, it glided through the sky with an unusual steadiness, leaving behind a long, luminous trail that shimmered against the darkness like a glowing scar across the heavens. For a brief moment, the entire sky above Mecca seemed to brighten. The mysterious glow expanded, illuminating the clouds and casting a faint radiance over the city below. From certain angles, the streak of light appeared almost suspended in the air, stretching across the night as if someone had drawn a line of fire through the atmosphere. Witnesses watching from rooftops, hotel windows, and streets near the Grand Mosque described the moment as both mesmerizing and unsettling. Many reported that the sky flashed briefly before the glowing trail began to fade, leaving behind only darkness and a growing sense of curiosity about what had just taken place. What made the sight even more striking was the location where it occurred. The light appeared directly above one of the most spiritually significant cities on earth, only a short distance from the Kaaba, the sacred focal point toward which billions of believers turn in prayer every day. Because of this powerful symbolism, the videos quickly spread across social media platforms, triggering waves of speculation and discussion. Some observers suggested that the phenomenon could have been a meteor blazing through the upper atmosphere, burning brightly before disappearing. Others believed it might have been a satellite or a piece of space debris, reflecting sunlight in an unusual way. A few even proposed that rare atmospheric conditions may have created an optical illusion that made the light appear more dramatic than it actually was. Yet despite these possible explanations, the mysterious appearance above Mecca left many viewers deeply intrigued. The slow movement, the glowing streak across the sky, and the sudden illumination of the night created an image that felt far from ordinary. In a place already filled with profound spiritual meaning, the sight of such a strange celestial light only intensified the sense of wonder surrounding the moment. As the footage continues to circulate online, people across the world are still watching and debating what they believe truly happened in that sky above Mecca. If you find stories like this fascinating and want to see more unusual moments from around the world, make sure to like the video and follow for more incredible events that continue to capture global attention. Yet the strange light in the sky was not the last moment that left people staring upward over Mecca. Not long after the mysterious glow had already stirred conversations across the internet, another unusual scene began unfolding above the Grand Mosque. What started as an ordinary patch of drifting cloud slowly transformed into something far more astonishing. High above the sacred complex, a massive formation began bending into a shape so precise that many observers struggled to believe it was natural. From multiple camera angles, the cloud appeared to organize itself into a near-perfect ring hovering in the sky. The circular formation stretched wide across the heavens, its edges thick and defined, while the center remained strangely open, creating the impression of a gigantic halo suspended above the city. Against the pale desert sky, the enormous ring looked almost deliberate, as if the atmosphere itself had drawn a symbol over the holy ground. Pilgrims walking through the marble courtyard began slowing their steps as the formation grew clearer. Some people pointed toward the sky, while others lifted their phones, trying to capture the rare sight before it disappeared. The contrast between the sacred structure of the Kaaba below and the enormous circle above created a scene that many witnesses described as both breathtaking and unsettling. For several minutes, the strange cloud remained visible without breaking apart. The ring seemed to hover almost motionless, floating over one of the most important spiritual sites on Earth. Sunlight filtered through the thin layers of vapor surrounding the formation, causing the edges of the circle to glow faintly, while the center remained eerily empty. From certain viewpoints, the cloud resembled a gigantic gateway opening in the sky. From other angles, it looked like a colossal crown resting above the Grand Mosque. Whatever the interpretation, the sight was powerful enough to make thousands of people pause and stare upward in silence. Some viewers argued that unusual wind patterns may have shaped the cloud into a rare atmospheric ring. Others believed the formation could have been the result of complex temperature layers interacting in the upper atmosphere, briefly sculpting the vapor into a circular pattern before the structure dissolved. Yet for many people watching the footage, the symbolism of the moment proved impossible to ignore. The giant ring had appeared above Mecca, the spiritual center for billions of believers, at a time when global attention was already focused on unusual events occurring around the city. In countless comment sections, some observers even referenced a passage from the Bible that has fascinated readers for centuries. Matthew 24-30 describes a moment when the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, a verse that many believe refers to extraordinary signs visible in the sky. Whether coincidence, atmospheric rarity, or something far more mysterious, the enormous circular cloud slowly began dissolving as the desert winds shifted again. Within minutes, the perfect ring fragmented into scattered wisps, leaving behind only fragments of vapor drifting quietly above the sacred city. But the videos remain, and the questions continue to grow. The strange moments above Mecca did not seem to end with the circular cloud slowly dissolving into the desert sky. Not long after that mysterious formation disappeared, new images and videos began spreading across the internet, showing a scene that many viewers initially struggled to believe. In a city known for intense heat and blazing sunlight, something that looked remarkably like snowfall was suddenly appearing in the air. Footage captured small white flakes drifting downward through the sky, moving slowly as they descended toward the ground. The particles floated across streets, rooftops, and open spaces, creating a surreal contrast against the warm tones of the desert landscape. Under normal circumstances, the climate of Mecca is associated with scorching temperatures and dry winds, which made the appearance of falling white specks feel deeply unusual. People who witnessed the moment quickly began recording the phenomenon. Cameras pointed upward as the pale fragments continued falling, some swirling gently in the air before touching the ground. In several clips, the flakes appeared to accumulate lightly across surfaces, producing a visual effect that looked startlingly similar to winter snowfall in regions thousands of kilometers away. The contrast was striking. A city built within one of the hottest environments on Earth suddenly seemed touched by something resembling a cold weather event. The familiar desert sky, normally bright and cloudless, now carried drifting white particles that transformed the atmosphere into something entirely unexpected. As the images spread across social media platforms, viewers from around the world reacted with fascination and confusion. Some believed the falling material could have been a rare atmospheric occurrence involving ice crystals forming in upper layers of the sky before descending. Others suggested the possibility of dust mixing with unusual weather conditions, producing particles that reflected light in a way that resembled snow. What intensified the discussion even more was the sequence of unusual scenes that had recently drawn attention to the skies above Mecca. A massive sandstorm had already darkened the city during a gathering of pilgrims. Soon afterward, a mysterious glowing object crossed the night sky. Then a giant circular cloud appeared above the Grand Mosque before fading away. Now, images showing white flakes drifting through the air added another puzzling moment to the growing list of strange events. Among the many reactions online, some observers pointed to a passage in the Bible that speaks about dramatic shifts in the natural world. Matthew 24:7 describes a period when disturbances in nature would become more noticeable, a verse that some people believe reflects times when the earth begins behaving in unfamiliar ways. Whether the falling particles were snow, ice crystals, or another rare atmospheric effect, the sight of white flakes descending through the desert air above Mecca created an image that few expected to witness. In a place known for heat, sand, and sun, the moment felt almost like a brief and unsettling transformation of the environment itself. After the strange scenes in the sky above Mecca, many people began wondering whether the mysteries surrounding the holy city might not only exist above it, but also deep within its most sacred structure. At the very center of the Grand Mosque stands the Kaaba, a cube-shaped building that has drawn the prayers of billions of believers for centuries. From the outside, the structure appears simple and solemn, covered in the black cloth known as the kiswa. Yet behind those ancient walls lies a space that very few people on earth have ever been allowed to see. Hidden inside the Kaaba, according to historical descriptions and rare accounts, there is believed to be a small chamber that remains almost completely unknown to the public. The space is sometimes referred to in certain sources as a place of repentance, a location associated with deep prayer, reflection, and moments of intense spiritual devotion. Access to the interior of the Kaaba itself is already extremely rare. The door is opened only on limited occasions, usually for select religious leaders, dignitaries, or caretakers who are invited to enter for ceremonial purposes. Even during those rare moments, the deeper areas within the structure remain largely concealed from public view. Inside the sacred building, the atmosphere is described as quiet and solemn, illuminated by hanging lamps and surrounded by marble walls that have witnessed centuries of worship. The air carries a sense of reverence that many visitors say feels almost overwhelming. But beyond the main interior area, references to a smaller, lesser-known space have continued to intrigue historians and observers for years. Some historical writings suggest that this hidden section may have been used for private prayer or moments of repentance, a secluded place where individuals could stand in silence within one of the most sacred sites in Islam. Because access is so tightly restricted, only a tiny number of people have ever seen the full interior layout of the Kaaba. That secrecy has naturally fueled curiosity. Over time, the idea that parts of the structure remain unseen by the outside world has led many to speculate about what might still exist inside its ancient walls. Some believe the chamber holds nothing more than a quiet place for reflection, while others wonder whether undiscovered details of history could still be hidden within the building. When people consider the recent series of unusual events that have drawn attention to Mecca, from dramatic weather phenomena to mysterious lights in the sky, the thought of hidden spaces inside the Kaaba adds yet another layer of intrigue to the story of this sacred city. For many observers, the question quietly lingers. If the skies above Mecca can still surprise the world, what secrets might still rest inside the walls of the Kaaba itself? The mystery surrounding the interior of the Kaaba does not end with the hidden chamber that few people have ever seen. Behind the ancient walls of the sacred structure, another story has circulated for years, one that begins with a renovation and ends with a discovery that stunned those involved. During one of the historical restorations of the Kaaba, workers carefully dismantled parts of the outer wall in order to reinforce the structure that has stood for centuries.